Brother Jimmy said, give him the high sign. All right. Well, I have a few thoughts tonight, and like I said in the end of the service this morning, tomorrow is Memorial Day, and I don't know if it was last year, or year before, or something. Brother Sanford gave a little information about one of his brother's friends that was killed in Vietnam, and that's why we have Memorial Day, is to remember those who gave their lives for our country, for us. And the veterans have their day. There's almost a day for everything, isn't there? There's a grandfather day, and I saw one the other day. It was National Ice Cream Day or Worldwide Ice Cream Day or something I missed. I didn't have my ice cream that day. But there's opportunity. Everybody's got their day. Some of them have their months. They should be, instead of having some of these months for these organizations and people, there should be Mother's Month. Instead of just Mother's Day. Mothers deserve more than a day, don't they? And fathers. How about fathers? They deserve a Father's Month, the beginning of Father's Month. That would look good on my calendar. And but tomorrow is Memorial Day, when we take time set aside to honor those who gave their lives for our country. In just World War II alone, there was an estimated 35 to 60 million people lost in that war. The statistics are vague because there was no real accountability with how many people were killed. But if you went with the minimum of 35 million people like us, flesh and blood. So what Brother Sanford did really inspired me to appreciate Memorial Day even greater. And I asked him, I said, I had a great uncle that died in World War II, and I would like to honor him today and to help us to greater understand the lives of those people that were lost. They were real people. Just like Brother Leslie said this morning, feelings just like us. They had friends and neighbors and family. They did. So my great uncle Harold Ridgway, William Harold Ridgway, he was okay. I thought I had his birth date here. 42. Okay, in the 1940 or so. But when the war broke out, he joined the Navy. And several of my uncles did. One, Uncle Travis, survived Pearl Harbor attack. He was there. My Uncle Travis was there. And so I think Uncle Eldridge was there too. But several of them went and joined the Navy, and their enlistment numbers were just either consecutive or just a number or two apart when they joined. So great Uncle Harold Ridgway was killed in a prisoner of war ship. Let me read you the report. And I do have a lesson that follows up with this. And so on October the 11th, 1944, this is about the sinking of the Arisian Maru. About 1,800 POWs aboard the Arisian Maru, hoping they would be off to a better than in the camps they were leaving. They would soon find out different. The Arisian Maru was a rather new freighter, and the men were led into the holds. These contained 3 levels of wooden shelves, about 3 feet between the shelves. They could barely stand or move in this space. After dark, the ship left the harbor. The men discovered the ship was headed south and not toward Japan. It had joined a convoy accompanied by a destroyer. The ships were about 200 miles south of Manila and went into coves in the islands. They were trying to elude American forces in the area. The ship then returned to Manila, arriving there on October the 20th. The next day, they joined a convoy headed toward Japan. The men received scant amounts of rice and water while on board. The heat proved unbearable, and about a third of the men suffered from dysentery and malaria. The stench grew steady in the confined quarters. The Japanese dispensed no medicine. They did, however, issue life preservers, which served to increase the fear among the men. Many men lost their spirit and will to live and had fits. Other men had to hold them down. On October the 24th, some of the POWs saw the Japanese running toward the rear of the ship, and they witnessed the wake of a torpedo headed toward the ship. It barely missed the ship. A second torpedo also misfired. Then a torpedo successfully hit midship on the starboard side. The ship buckled in the middle, but the forward part of the ship stayed level. This was where the Americans were. The Japanese cut rope ladders to the forward hold and closed the latches on the second hold. The Japanese boarded lifeboats and headed for two destroyers. Some of the Americans managed to get on deck and threw rope ladders down to the men below them. Some of the men jumped overboard once on deck. Some attempted to swim toward the destroyers but were struck with long poles from the Japanese. Some of the men who remained on board went into the galley and hit the food supplies. The ship began to break into pieces and sank. Some of the escaping prisoners of Americans were shot by the Japanese as they tried to evacuate the ship. War is terrible. It doesn't matter who you are, what nation, war is terrible. And again, over 35 million people died in this war, but I want to bring this one person here, Great Uncle Harold Ridgway. According to the Japanese Prisoner of War Information Bureau, they listed 1,778 passengers. They were I got the numbers wrong. 1,778 of the 1,082 passengers are deceased. However, a few were picked up by the Haro Maru and taken to Taiwan. 5 survived in the sea, and the Chinese junk ship also took them aboard. And they were helped by the Chinese to an American airstrip. War is terrible. This is where it gets really heart-rending. This is a copy of the letter that his mother received. Dear Miss Ridgway, your son, William Harold Ridgway, Torpedo Man's first mate, class. Torpedo Man's mate, first class, United States Navy, has been carried on the official records of the Navy Department as a prisoner of war. Full review of all evidence pertaining to the status of your son has been made. It has been ascertained that on October the 11th, 1944, your son, who had been held captive by the Japanese as a Bellevue prisoner at Camp of War, Philippine Islands, was placed on board the Japanese freightliner, apparently en route to Japan. The ship was anchored in a cove in the island about 300 miles from Manila for about 6 days before it returned to Manila on 20 October 1944, and from there, in a convoy of Japanese ships, proceeded in a general northward direction. On 24 October 1944, this ship, which bare no markings to indicate it was carrying prisoners of war, was torpedoed and sank off Sinoon, eastern coast of China. Records maintained by the Japanese authorities in the Philippine Islands have come into the possession of the United States Navy personnel, and these records reveal that your son did not survive the sinking. 8 months have elapsed since the date of the disaster, during which no word has been received. It has therefore been determined that your son died on October 24th, 1944, as a result of the sinking According to this, his status has been changed in the records of this Bureau from prisoner of war to deceased, pursuant to the provisions, and they talk about how he's going to get his back pay. The Navy shares your loss and extends sincere sympathy to you in your sorrow. It is hoped that you will find comfort in the knowledge that your son gave his life for this country, upholding the highest traditions of the Navy. Can you imagine my aunt when she received this letter? This is war. This is why we have the Memorial Day. This is why we remember those people who gave their lives, that we can get in our car without having to get a permit, and then we can come down here and come to church and worship God in freedom. They died for us to be able to do that. At some point in his time in the Navy, he was a Navy torpedo man's first mate in the Navy. He tied a little board of knots. I'll take it out. I'm going to put it down here and let you look at it. But he tied, Navy's known for their knots, right? Their skills with knots and stuff. He tied this little board of knots and sent it home. 2 of them are missing. I thought about tying them and putting them up there with a different type of material so they know they've been replaced. A bowline and a bowline on a bite. I can tie those. I can't tie a lot of those other things. But he tied all this stuff and sent it home to his family, and it's passed down to me. And so we're going to take the original letter of this, the notice, this board, and some history, and I didn't bring the picture of him, but forgot to get that in his Navy uniform. And we're making a shadow box, and we're going to take it down to the VFW here in Hattiesburg, and they've agreed to display it along with other things, other artifacts and things of the men and women that has given their lives for our nation. So it's said a lot that freedom's not free, you know. But when you look and when you read and you experience and you think about this, and this my hope and my thought is to this man gave his life for us. And so tomorrow we honor those people. And he's just one. And there's among thousands of people that gave their lives for our country. And so there's so many people today that disrespect that and want to change our freedoms and take them away from us and don't appreciate what those folks did for us. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of them. I mean, they're all individual people, and I think about me sometimes. Here, I never went into the services or anything like that. Wish I had, but I have done my best for my community here as a small part, and we need that too, you know. But the least I can do is remember them sometimes, right? And appreciate what they did. Wouldn't you, if you gave your life there? Wouldn't you want somebody to say, I appreciate what I appreciate what he did for me. He died that I can be free, that I can go out and do things. And that's to transition it too. And I'll put these up here on the front to where you can look at this stuff. And to see the thing about it. And again, it doesn't matter what country, what we are. War is terrible. And so you can look at this and people can say, well, the United States has done such terrible things. I mean, we dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and those places like that. But, they did that to stop this. They did it to stop all of this stuff. I mean, if you want to point your finger at us ugly Americans, well, point your finger at other countries too. How come they didn't mark these ships to tell the Americans, the Allies, that they were American and Australian and other Allies prisoners? Why didn't they mark them? Well, they wanted us to sink kill our own people. I guess their hope was that once they found out they were prisoners of war on those ships they were sinking, they would quit. but they didn't. The Allies sank 23 ships, 23 Japanese ships that were not marked, that had prisoners of war on them. War is a terrible thing. My. So, but the thing is, we just need to remember these people tomorrow while we're cooking our hot dogs and hamburgers and whatever we're going to do, boudin, whatever you have. Think about it. Appreciate what they did. And not just for me and my uncle, but for all this. Brother.
I'd like to add a comment.
Okay. Could we get the mic, because we are live. I mean, we are on the air. Just to let her get it. And I'd mentioned if you have somebody that you would like to mention to, and then next year, if you want to plan it for next year to have it, I'm sure Brother Sanford agreed that we need to, it helps us prime us for the day to understand. Okay, brother.
I just want to comment on what you brought about your uncle and how he died. The services, Army, Marines, they all sacrificed
Yes,
greatly
sir. Absolutely.
in war. But a particular episode with a Navy cruiser, I bought the book and read it. It was a true book from the people that survived. It's their account.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't read the book, The Indianapolis, I highly recommend you get it and read it. It'll give you greater respect for our services. And the other book is Unbroken. Two great books. I recommend them both.
Okay. So you have something to add to? Okay. Go ahead.
I had someone on my boat, the George Washington, TVN 73. It was a guy. Problem is, I don't remember his name. But he was killed. We were trying to prepare, help reduce some fighting. We're doing some, I was CWIS, close-in weapon system. He was helping with the planes. And one of the planes was in trouble. And one of the
wheels or
metal that goes across broke and hit him and killed him.
And
It's what grabs, the planes grab
yeah, tail hook.
the arrestor cable. The arrestor cable hit him and killed him.
Mm. So see, we remember these people. They were training. They were training for us. Yeah. Thank you.
The CWIS was what I worked on. My system was the best on our boat.
Good. Appreciate
That's why
that.
the other three CWIS all went first. Then our gun went.
That's good. We appreciate
Because whenever our gun went, there ended up being no drone left.
I see.
You always took it out.
That's good. So in training, it doesn't matter how these people, if they give their lives for our country, they're working to protect us. All right. Anybody else? Any other comments? Okay. So that's, we think about these thousands, millions of people that's given their lives for our freedom. And so we think about the one, the Son of God that gave his life for our freedom. And so how much we honor these, we want to honor these men and women that died for our country and for us to have freedom to live. But we need to, Jesus, the Son of God died that we can live, right? How much more should we honor him? And we do that every day, right? And so, but for us, the title here is that, I told you the wrong thing. We have one life to live, right? But is what I told him, Brother Jimmy, to title it. But I actually is going to, if we can revise that a little, one life to live, because life is a timed event. Okay, life is a timed event. How long do you know? How long do we know we're going to live? Do I know? Do I know I'm going to make it to the house? No. These people that went to war, they had a pretty good idea that the chances of them dying was greater than being back at home with mother and dad on the farm, you know. Then yet they went in and signed up and went to give their lives. So us, and we have one life to live too, just like they had one life to live. Now their path is gone, and ours. Those of us who are here and can hear my voice, we still have life to live. So we don't have 2 or 3 or 4. Just like Uncle Red, had one. Uncle Harold, William Harold, Red Ridgway. He signed the board, Red Ridgway. It was his nickname, Red. So you can imagine he had red hair. So there are some redheads in my family, so he's one of them. But what about us? We have one life to live, and we don't have an unlimited amount of time about it either. We don't have a lot of time. So one of my favorite scriptures, and I actually had Brother Sanford actually presided at the funeral with our daughter, and I asked him to read this. It's Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, and starting with verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. What profit has he that worketh in that which he laboureth? I have seen the travail which God has given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he has set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life, and also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. So there's so much wisdom and thought to meditate on in that, and especially one that catches my mind really close is that there's a time to keep silent and there's a time to speak. So there's a lot of times, a time for us in this world, and so sometimes I look around at my possessions, and Sue reminds me, who's going to take care of all this junk when we die? And I look at it and I think, man, I have more junk than the average bear. So I'm trying to work it out and get rid of some of this stuff, you know. Some of it I want to turn it into cash so it'd be easier for whoever to take, with it. So, but we need to spend our time being productive. whatever that is, whatever your thing that you like to do or purpose you have in life, we need to be able to do it. And I've talked about, we had a lesson before, we talked about purpose. In order to enjoy this life, we have to have a purpose. We have to have a purpose in our lives. And it may be as simple as just, well, I want my garden to look pretty good, right now. It doesn't matter what you have, a purpose. It helps you if you're driven by something, to live your life the best, to influence people, to help folks, to be the best grandma, the best grandpa, whatever, whatever. It helps to have a purpose in your life. And we need to spend our time being productive. Ephesians, the 9th chapter, and verse 10. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither thou goest. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. So, whatever we find our hand to do, if it's something, whether we want to do it, or does it say if you want to do it with all your might? Or does it say if you don't want to do it, do it? No, it just says whatever we find our hand finds to do it with all of our might. Do it with the best. We're going to, Brother James drive a truck down the road. We want to be the best truck driver out there, right? We want to do whatever we do. We want to do it right and good by whatever we do, or whatever. If your purpose or job or skill in life is to fix dinner, whatever we do, And we did have a good dinner, by the way, at home, and I haven't had the eats for the tums, We had some strong Mexican food, and I had a fresh jalapeno pepper out of the garden. So, see, I'm enjoying the fruit of my labor, right? Fresh jalapeno peppers. So, our time, and the older ones of us in here can tell the younger ones in here, and the middle-aged can tell the younger ones too, that our time will go quickly. Is it as a tale that is told, the Bible says? Our lives, it's like a tale that is told. So we have to work quick. Like I told you, I talked to my pastor about the business I was getting ready to go into, and he said, well, how old are you? And I said, told him, and he said, that'll do us do quickly. So we have to. Let's look in, look at here, there's that scripture. Psalms, the 90th chapter and verse 9. It says, For our days are passed away in thy wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told. We could have plenty of tales. Oh, Brother Bubba, sit up here. Oh, I'll tell you what, brother. I rebuked the devil clean into Monday, The next week, yeah. He didn't, so we can tell plenty of stories like that. Verse 10 says, For the days of our years are threescore years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be fourscore years, yet in their strength labor and sorrow. Yet is their strength labor and sorrow. For it is soon cut off and we fly away. Who knoweth the power of thine anger, even according to thy fear? So is thy wrath. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts to wisdom. And so I have a calendar on here, and I can look. It says the whatever 100th day of the year, So I can look. There's 265 days left, this year. So we number our days, okay? And as simple as that is, but he means take and in each day we need to make each day count. So one guy told me one day, he said, every day in the woods hunting is a day you added to your life. So that's numbering your days. Do some things we like, So one day we will appear before God and give account of how we used our time. the scripture, 2 Corinthians 5:10, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that everyone may receive the things done in his body according that he hath done, whether it be good or bad. Whether it's good or bad, we're going to have accounted for it. And we need to, and especially, and it ties along with this morning, we need to walk circumspectly. Ephesians, the 5th chapter, verse 14. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. And then, see then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. So we need to walk circumspectly, is to carefully consider all circumstances and possible consequences. I wish I could have understood that years ago. But everything we do, every move we make it's got a consequence, or a reward, a blessing, or something negative. So, well, I know the thoughts we've given tonight were real. They're real thoughts, okay? We don't want anybody depressed now. It's just a fact of life. We need to, it should help you understand and live our lives more fully and appreciative of what we have. We need to appreciate it and to understand why we have what we have. And so, all right, that's it. Praise the Lord. Amen. Put that in backwards, I think, maybe. No. Okay. I'll put these out if anybody wants to just look at them and see, see what they are. So they did name the VFW in Moselle after my great uncle and another person, but I don't think that Moselle, I couldn't find it. I went up there, I was going to give this stuff to them, but we couldn't find a sign of them. I think they merged with the Hattiesburg VFW. And so we're going to, like I say, Sue's going to make a shadow box with all the stuff in it to honor what this one individual did. And I wish I'd have had his age here, but he was only 20s, early 20s or 30, late 20s or 30s. Young man. And I don't know why he chose a submarine, but he was and I don't know how he got captured or anything like that, but he was a torpedo man. All right. That's pretty ironic that he was a torpedo man for the United States Navy, and then that's how he died, from a torpedo. But war is war, right? It's not good. It doesn't matter where it is, who it is, what it is. And somebody said something the other day, Lindsey Graham said, talking about the war in Ukraine and Russia, and we're offline now.